Bienvenidos clase en nuestra segunda lección de español. Vamos a hablar hoy sobre los pronombres directos e indirectos. You remember that last week we learned a little bit about reflexive pronouns. For those of you who were issued homework, I'm still looking forward to correcting those, so go ahead and send them back at your leisure, I guess. It's going to get a little more complicated though, so it's good to try to stay up on all the tasks. So again, today we're talking about direct and indirect object pronouns. Be sure to take a lot of notes. Join me at 10:45 on Skype for a little bit of a question and answer segment. Again, thank you for joining us and welcome to our second lecture. Okay, as you recall, last week we learned about the reflexive pronouns as well as reflexive verb phrases. That's where I would like to start today. We're going to talk a little bit about the reflexive pronouns first, just as a review. If you remember, and if you were doing your verb chart, the first person singular is me, second person singular is te, third person singular is se, first person plural is nos, second person plural os, third person plural se. It's always a very good idea to do these verb charts so you could keep track of where you are as far as the grammatical person is concerned. So now I'd like to give you a couple of examples of some reflexive sentences just so it keeps fresh in your memory. For example, me lavo, I wash myself. Notice how I underlined the reflexive verb, or the reflexive pronoun, excuse me. It's me lavo. The verb is lavar, which is transitive, but we're making a reflexive by adding the reflexive pronoun. First person singular is me, so me lavo, I wash myself. Te levantaste muy tarde esta mañana. You woke up very late this morning. I underlined again the reflexive pronoun te, which is reflecting back on you. Notice that it's in the preterite tense, the transitive verb levantar, which means actually to raise. So we're literally saying you raised yourself very late this morning. In English, we tend to translate it as you woke up or you got out of bed very late this morning. La familia se acuesta muy temprano. The family goes to bed very early. This is from the reflexive verb acostarse. Remember, we put the third person singular, as well as third person plural. We put that pronoun on the end of the infinitive. So anytime I give it an infinitive verb or a verb I want you to study, it's going to be in the infinitive. And reflexive verbs are no different. So acostarse. It is a stem change. You'll see a lot of those verbs. So that acostar, that O is going to change to the UE. That's why when it's conjugated, it becomes se acuesta. La familia se acuesta muy temprano. The family goes to bed very early. Mi hermano y yo nos vestimos primero. My brother and I get dressed first. This is from the reflexive verb vestirse, and the nos is indicating it's first person plural, so yo or I am included as well as another person or other people. That's what makes it plural. Mi hermano y yo nos vestimos primero. Juanita y tú os abrocháis el cinturón. Juanita y tú os abrocháis el cinturón. Juanita and you buckle your seatbelts, or Juanita and you get buckled up. We should really say abrocháis el cinturón de seguridad, because el cinturón simply means belt, but in this case we'll make the context come alive, so to speak, so the listener knows exactly what we're talking about. Juanita y tú os abrocháis el cinturón. This is the vosotros reflexive verb. Remember, vosotros is not used too frequently in the Western Hemisphere. It's mainly reserved for Spain. And then, last but not least, ellos se van a las 8. They leave at 8 o'clock. Ellos se van a las 8. This is from the reflexive verb irse, which means to leave, okay? To leave. Ellos se van a las 8. They leave at 8. One of the main important things to remember about reflexive pronouns, their main function is to own a sentence or have the sentence reflect back on the speaker or back on the subject. We tend to think of this term in English as itself or oneself. That's why you'll always hear the words myself, yourself, himself, herself, etc. in English. Those is the way we in English reflect an action back onto the subject. Okay, we use these words. Well, in Spanish, they actually use a certain pattern to their verb phrases, a little bit different than English. Now, our lesson today, though, is in direct and indirect object pronouns, which are serving a different purpose than the reflexive verbs, okay? They're quite a little bit different as far as grammar is concerned. They have different necessities. They're not really the same as reflexive verb, okay? This time we're actually referring to an object, whereas a reflexive verb, you are the subject and you're reflecting back onto the subject. That's why we say oneself, itself, himself, myself. While direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns actually transmit through to an object, okay? So there's actually a physical manipulation of an object taking place. Let me show you what I mean here. Let's look at the following sentences here. We need to review what the grammatical object is, okay? Remember that the subject usually transitions an object. Basic sentence structure, subject plus predicate. You need to remember this. This is your basic sentence structure that you've learned since kindergarten. Here's one in Spanish. Yo veo el gato. I see the cat. I see the cat. You'll notice that it's got the yo, which is the subject, I, right? And then the predicate, veo el gato. I see the cat. Yo veo a Juan. Yo veo a Juan. I see Juan. Don't forget that there's that personal A there. It's underlined along with Juan in the Spanish sentence. Anytime the object is an actual person, don't forget you have to put that prepositional A. It's also called la personal, or the personal A. Okay, now that we know where the objects were in the aforementioned sentences, we can actually take those objects and now turn them into pronouns. So let's get started. We're going to first look at the direct object pronouns. The direct object pronouns. Basically, every sentence that I just showed you, for example, yo veo el gato and yo veo a Juan, are using direct objects, okay? They're actually direct objects. Now our task is to actually turn them into direct object pronouns. Okay, let's get started with our verb chart again. We're going to look at the direct object pronouns written out. Our first person singular, for those of you that were paying attention to our reflexive verbs last week, you'll notice that the first person singular, or the yo form, is the same, me. Our second person singular, te, is the same as well. Now our third person singular is a little bit different, okay? We have lo and la. Now, both of those are actually gender specific. You should have learned about gender in beginner Spanish. Basically, you have nouns that are either masculine or feminine. The lo is referring to a masculine noun, and the la is referring to a feminine one. They're both third person, though, so we have to pay attention to that, and we have to remember that they both occupy third person singular slot. Over at the first person plural, we get nos. Our second person plural, we get os, which are the same as the reflexive pronouns again. But our third person plural are los and las. And again, those are gender specific. Los is referring to a plural masculine noun, and the las is referring to a plural feminine entity.